Welcome to the High Ground Podcast. I'm CVW,
I'm Callum.
and today we're going to be looking at The Martian, Ridley Scott's underrated masterpiece. Would you agree with that? Underrated masterpiece?
Oh, indeed, I would. Yes.
So yeah, I think it's a fantastic film, released in 2015, made with a budget of 108 million, took in 228 at the US box office. 228 million, well, over 228 million. And a world gross of $630 million. So it did relatively well for its budget. And it's 108 million for a film of its scope is pretty amazing.
Yeah. The one thing that does strike me though is I can't believe that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, 6 nearly. September.
Yeah, so.
5.5. But yeah, I mean, did you see it at the cinema?
No, I didn't. I wanted to, but I think it was one of those films where I was like, I really want to go see that, but then I either just didn't get around to it or something came up. I can't remember, but I saw the extended version when it was released, and yeah, I felt even worse about not seeing it in the cinema.
Yeah, I watched the I remember sitting in the cinema watching it, and I don't remember. I mean, I watched it, so I watched the trailers on the Blu-ray, and I was like seeing if I could remember the exact reason why I went to the cinema to watch it. And the only thing I can think of is because I love films like Apollo 13, and this looked like, I know it's science fiction, but it's science fiction and science facts blended together in such a great way. And I thought it looked, and the premise of a guy getting stuck on Mars, and when we would see, I was like, it's an incredible movie. It really is. So that was the last time I actually watched the theatrical cut, because I too watched the extended cut all the time. And
yeah, I've never seen the theatrical cut, so I don't even know if I would know the difference.
It's a good thing because there's only 10 minutes difference between theatrical and extended.
Oh, it's not a lot then.
No, I'm sure it's 10 minutes. So it's just sort of like, but when you can add stuff in, because if you look at, say, something like, I mean, we've discussed this before, like Alien and Aliens, where you can tell the extended stuff are added in.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Or the Lord of the Rings extended versions where they've literally changed, like re-edited the films. But yeah, I don't think I would even really notice. So I've always had the extended version, so I don't see the reason to. It's the same price as the other one anyway, so why would you not buy the one with more footage?
Oh yeah. I mean, I actually, because I'll be honest, because Blu-ray album came with a digital code, so having the extended cut, we can just pick up rather than going over to the Blu-ray player, putting the Blu-ray in and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I watched the gag reel and some of these featurettes, which was like about the Ares mission.
Yeah.
And they do it as if it was a real documentary. And it actually, I mean, it's on disc 2 of the Blu-ray. It's really, really good. There's ones like a little featurette from one just before the mission, and there's one about after it, evaluating, what's it? Thingy's character, Sean Bean's, Mitch Henderson, and his actions that actually saved the day versus Teddy's. And it's like about the mission and how and all that. It's like a little feature afterwards, so after the film, and it's fantastic.
Oh, I've not seen that. They'll be on YouTube.
They should be. I mean, YouTube's got everything on.
It certainly has.
So
yeah, no, I like those sort of when they do like in-universe sort of. It's like the best way I can describe it as well on the remake of Dawn of the Dead. The special features had like fake news reports about like the virus breaking out, stuff like that, and I love that sort of stuff. It just sort of like builds the world a bit more, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. And I mean, you go into the characters and character motivation, and the sort of stuff is like Mark Watney is such a likable character.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
And they all are. And it's good. I mean, it's good when you get a disc that actually has that kind of stuff on, because I really, if you're gonna buy one of these glorified coasters, you want them to actually have more than just the film, or if it's just the film, you can buy it digitally. And I really do. It is really good. It was good value for money. It was. But that's going off the top here. I mean, if you look at, Ridley Scott, he's known to me. He did Gladiator. He did Alien, of course, Blade Runner. That's just to name a few. And he is well versed in science fiction.
Yeah.
But The Martian to me does not feel like science fiction.
No, it's like a strange sort of amalgamation, isn't it? I feel the same. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Gravity.
Gravity.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think it's supposed to be set in the near future, but it's not far.
Sandra Bullock, George Clooney.
Yeah. It's not far enough in the future to be like, oh, that's sci-fi. Like, it does feel like it could potentially happen now, or not far from now. And Martian's the same. Like, I mean, I don't think we're that far off, technology-wise. So it does feel sort of grounded in a real world, and especially if you read the novel as well. Like, it's written by someone who understands all the computer stuff, basically. So it feels like it's Robinson Crusoe on Mars, isn't it? Basically. Yeah. So I mean, that formula works quite well, whatever you apply it to.
Did you read the novel before or after watching the film?
After.
Same here. I mean, I'm a slow reader anyway, but when I watched the film and then I saw the novel cheap, I really loved it, and I really want to read it to see the differences. And it's very faithful. Drew Goddard did a fantastic job of it.
Yeah, and the sort of story behind it is quite interesting as well, because he did it as a blog. So he would write every chapter, and then he would say he would come up with a problem at the end of each chapter that would supposedly leave Mark, screwed.
Yeah.
And then he'd try and think of the solution to the problem, but he always said, like, if he found a problem he couldn't solve, then he would die.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite an interesting way to write a book, like keeping yourself cliffhangers at the end of each chapter, like a chapter should be.
Yeah. So yeah, having death hanging over his head if he couldn't beat it, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and like not on Earth as well. So if anything does get wrong, it's screwed, isn't he?
There's one. You're saying that reminded me of a line from the film. I don't know about the interception quote. At the end, you said, "We've got a problem." It's like you said, "We work the problem." And it reminded me of the line from Apollo 13.
Yeah.
How
I think they're quite definitely a sort of a tribute thing going through it to Apollo 13, isn't there?
Oh yes.
It has the same sort of vibe as I mean, I rewatched that again recently, and it did really remind me of The Martian, or rather the other way around, I suppose. Just the way it's structured, like you say. I mean, Apollo 13 is obviously one big problem that they solve.
Yeah.
But the thing about like fitting the round thing into the square hole and that, and it is like that problem solving thing that only scientists can sort of work through. But it's just like you say with Drew Goddard as well. It's really well written to keep the tension going.
Oh yes. I mean, he's a great. I mean, that's all his work. In Drew Goddard as a director for Bad Times at El Royale, which is a fantastic film. So, and having his name attached to Bad Times was one of the reasons I went to see it, because I loved what he did with The Martian. I mean, no, I think Blade Runner is one of the greatest masterpieces of all time, and I think Alien as well. But The Martian as well goes completely up there with those two in my eyes.
Oh, definitely. I think it's probably his best film in recent times, I would say. I mean, I can't think of anything that's came after it that was like, wow, Ridley Scott, sort of.
I can. Because I know it's... I'm going to make sure I've got the timelines right. And this is where I find out that I don't. He's Prometheus and Covenant.
Yeah. I mean, Covenant was good, but it wasn't as good as The Martian, I think.
I do agree with you. I mean, I like Prometheus.
Yeah, I do.
And I think if you take the beginning and the ending off Covenant, you've got an absolutely incredible film.
Yeah, definitely.
But in terms of, and this is why when Ridley Scott does science fiction, as in pure science fiction versus science, the amalgamation of science fiction and science fact, is it shows how great Ridley Scott is with characters.
Yeah.
And as great as we'll just say like Alien, which is a crew and everything. I think the characters in The Martian are more likable than they are in Alien.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean everyone has like a little, even back on Earth as well. Like everyone's quite likable to an extent, aren't they? Even Teddy, even though he makes like that bad decision with Sean Bean's character, but everyone has like, the comedy is well placed and well timed. It's not sort of, when you sort of hear something that's supposed to be funny and you think, oh, like there was no laughter in the audience.
Yeah.
That's always when I think a joke falls flat. But yeah, no, I mean it's funny. It's funny because you can sort of like, it's the only thing keeping them going. So your tension, it's relieving your tension as well by laughing. So yeah, there's another thing as well about it. Ridley Scott related I was just thinking when you said about him doing science fiction, is that it's probably good because he isn't really into that as a genre. I mean, he said before he did Alien, like, oh, I would never do science fiction, and then it was Star Wars that changed his mind to do it. So he obviously saw the potential for it storytelling wise rather than specifically liking it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's the used universe. I mean, I think Ridley Scott was the one that came up with that quote. Don't quote me on that one. But it said that that's what, because up until Star Wars: A New Hope, as it is now, everything was brand new, like Star Trek 2001. But Star Wars came along and said that you don't go into it, nothing looks new, and that's why you got Alien and Blade Runner.
Yeah, which look like real, like you could inhabit those. If you could go inside the television, like you feel like you would actually, like where if you watch something like Logan's Run or something like that where it's shiny and you just think, or Rollerball, you just think, it doesn't look real.
No, but that was the time George Lucas just revolutionized it all.
I think another film that sort of did it really early is Planet of the Apes, where you feel like it is a world that has been lived in for so long.
The ending and the ship goes.
Yeah,
that's another one we'll have to look at soon. Planet of the Apes, the original versus the new ones.
Yeah,
but the casting's superb.
Yeah, fantastic, isn't it?
Okay. Here's where I was going through it. I was like, we're looking at the cast, and I did a little thing with the fiance.
Yeah.
If you look at the main cast, there's some of them are in superhero movies, and that.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
You got Matt Damon from Thor and Deadpool 2. Jessica Chastain, who's in Bright Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's the alien woman, isn't she?
Kristen Wiig. You know what she's in?
Yeah. Wonder Woman 1984, isn't she?
Yeah. Michael Pena.
Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Then you got Sebastian Stan as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Bucky Barnes. Kate Mara.
Yeah, I do feel like I've seen her in one of them before. Is it an MCU one?
Nope.
No. Is it an older Marvel one?
No. Newish.
Oh yes, Fantastic Four, isn't it?
Yeah. Chiwetel
Fan Four Stick, as everyone calls it.
It's a horrible film. Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah, that's Doctor Strange. Is he Mordo? Plays Mordo, doesn't he, in Doctor Strange?
I think so. Yeah, I'm useless with names, to be honest. But yeah, he's good. Benedict Wong.
That's Doctor Strange as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Wong. Donald Glover.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. I was like,
I forgot Donald Glover was in that. Yeah, he's great in that, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's telling Spider-Man how to he's doing it all wrong.
It was Rich Purnell with him, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Rich
No,
Pennell's.
the Martian.
Yeah, Rich. I think his interaction with Teddy, Jeff Daniels.
Yeah,
That is superb. But it goes to show that these geniuses aren't, it's not like the big, I say normal, but there's no such thing as normal. That it's the one superhero that looks like the A-list actor that's going to save the day. It's the IT crowd or the Big Bang Theory lot that are going to save the day. And Donald Glover, his awkwardness around people, yeah, he's a genius. Is superb. It adds to the believability. You could imagine him at NASA. He's the one that they lock in the room and only bring him out when he's got the solution.
Yeah, it's the scene when he's explaining the slingshot, isn't it? And he says to Jeff Daniels about who are you? And I'm Teddy. I'm in charge of NASA.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, like I don't care about that.
It's brilliant, and his sparring partner, Mitch Henderson.
Yeah,
him and Teddy when they're going completely, I think that's
Sean Bean also doesn't die.
Yeah, that is a brilliant thing. Sean Bean is an absolute brilliant actor.
Yeah,
but to have a film where he doesn't die,
quite rare.
Maybe if you do more like that, have it. For a film that's, you'd imagine it to be CG heavy, which is a lot of computer generated in it, but there's a lot of practical.
Yeah, I was thinking that when I rewatched that actually. It's only stuff like like the computer screens, and a lot of them are like sort of futuristic touch screen ones, aren't they? Not too much, but yeah, no, I was quite impressed with how practical it was. I mean, like the stuff to do with like the hab that he lives in and all the sand dunes and stuff. I mean, that looks all like how Mars looks, how I imagine Mars looks. It's like it's again that used universe thing where you feel like they've been there for a little while on at the base.
Yeah. I mean, it was done in Jordan, and of course on the soundstage. And when you look at it, it's like thinking, isn't that where they filmed episode 9?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I saw that, I was like, I watched which one's making them, and I was like, oh, that looks like episode 9, Star Wars episode 9. Sorry. And so yeah, I was like, wow, and when they blend it all together and everything, and I like the way that they go into science fact with the Pathfinder, isn't it? The little Mars rover.
Yeah.
And I thought that's sort of like and because when they're trying to figure out where he's going before they've got contact, it's like, oh, he's trying to find the rover, and it does tie it all in. I thought that was pure brilliance.
Yeah, another thing off the back of that I really like is that when they have to explain like all the scientific stuff that we obviously don't we don't understand it like down to its basics. He sort of explains it in the voiceover while he's doing it in the montage. I really like that sort of thing because it's not just you could just have him narrate it and it would just be boring, wouldn't it? Whereas showing him doing it at the same time, you kind of think this guy knows what he's doing. Like I'm enjoying watching him as well as listening to him.
Yeah, and he's got all these little GoPro cameras all over the hat, which they would have to monitor them all. So he is talking to someone that may see these things. So he's explaining. It's pure brilliance. It is, and it's a thought process. Because I mean, if you watch the film, the guy just walking around with a voiceover rather than him showing his personality, it would make for a boring film.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like Chris Robinson Crusoe originally. Yeah. It is kind of like a pompousy, oh, woe is me sort of story. Whereas I like this just because he just gets on with it, and like if something doesn't work, he tries something else, and it's almost a lot of it's like a found footage film, really, isn't it? Like you say, where he's talking into the camera, he's not necessarily talking to anyone. Like it's just if anyone finds this, it might help them someday, and I do feel his like success and his failures as they happen, don't you?
Yeah. And I think that, when NASA's all, and there would be when if you're going live across the world, because that you have to toe the line, and their children, and they still want him to toe the line, even though he's out there fearing for his life, but they still want him to toe the line, and yet he's just writing what he thinks.
Yeah, about the language.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a scene, isn't there, where they say about your life, Mark, or something like that. And if you read the book, it actually tells you what he writes. About, look, a pair of boobs.
It's brilliant. And it's like you wouldn't care what
No.
And that's the brilliance of it, rather than it's not like he's not like the hero that's going to save the day and he's at the last and he'll rescue himself. It's like, no, he's there's a reality to it.
Yeah, he's just a guy, isn't he? I mean, like he is like an astronaut, and they are exceptionally intelligent. But at the end of the day, it's still like if he doesn't try these things, he's still going to die.
Yeah, he's a botanist, and I like the line. Yeah. I was saying like "F you, Neil Armstrong" or something at one point.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, like, the spirit of it is all that space race excitement again, isn't it? Where it's probably the only thing that's ever united humanity was the moon landing.
Yeah.
And I like it that you get that vibe in this, where everyone just wants to get Mark home. It doesn't matter about the money. It doesn't matter about like how many launches they do. It's just getting this guy home is like the symbol of what NASA does so great.
Yeah, it's unity, and I think at a time when we're all divided, that's the sort of thing you do need. You don't need an accident like that, but you do need a unity, and it's get everyone getting together behind a cause.
Yeah. I mean, in that sense, it's quite Roddenberry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that's the spirit of we need to do everything together.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, if we've mentioned before that the original Star Trek, I think, is one of the defining pieces of science fiction. The Star Trek the Motion Picture is defining science fiction, and I like the message of Star Trek, and that is so true. What you've said is, okay, it's like if you look at like say it's I think as a movie, it's more enjoyable than say even First Man. And Apollo.
Yeah.
I love Apollo 13, but it's more accessible than Apollo 13, and it's definitely more than 2001 and Prometheus. I mean, not to disrespect Prometheus.
Yeah, no, they're just different, aren't they? I mean, Prometheus and 2001 are a bit more sort of cerebral, aren't they? Whereas, yeah, this is like as well as much as it does have like messages and like and what it represents for humanity and that I think it's just fun. Like I haven't seen a science fiction film for a while where I've just been like I've really enjoyed that, like, and then obviously the next one was like we said earlier, episode 9. Yeah. But it's just a lot of them are quite dreary and sort of too self-aware that they're science fiction and try and copy Blade Runner, don't they? And even sometimes Blade Runner, if you're not in the right mood, is a bit depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, common knowledge, Apollo 13 is one of my favourite movies.
Yeah, it is great.
But when you walk out of watching that, you have a sense of relief.
Yeah.
But when you walk out or you switch off, because I walk out because I love the whole cinema experience. When you watch The Martian, you have a big smile on your face after, because it's not the fact. I mean, both the 13 crew and the Ares 3 crew, they both did it, but whereas the 13 crew are the heroes. These ones are just glad that they've got they're back.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite similar plots if you boil them down, aren't they? Really, like the major problem that happens. Mark gets left behind. Apollo 13 has an electrical fire thing. And then it's about the individual problems they solve to get that done and get home. It's actually really similar, and I can't imagine they didn't think of that when they were writing the script.
Definitely.
Because I mean, Apollo 13 is a very popular film, isn't it? Like, so I think, I mean, even 2001 to some extent, you know, when Hal goes off his nut, there's some like problem solving that needs to be done, isn't there? And
yeah.
it's the basic tenet of any narrative, any storytelling is you go from one problem to the next and solve it.
But with The Martian, it is very relentless. Once done, you got to get to another one. You got to like digging up the nuclear power source just so they can use it, which has been buried with skull and crossbones on it, just so that they know not to get it.
Yeah.
Or having to drill a hole through the top of the rover just so that using all the stuff that they got. The use of duct tape throughout.
Oh, duct tape is miraculous.
Yeah. But it's little things like that. It's all the stuff which you could, and you know, stuff you can get hold of quite easily that they use to do repairs. And I think that's fantastic. A bit like in Apollo 13, where they use a sock to do the air filter.
Yeah, I mean, even when you watch a lot of documentaries about NASA, like a lot of their stuff was basically just everyday stuff, like taped together, wasn't it? Wires and you know. Now I imagine the computers are a lot more advanced and stuff like that. But you know, you look at like the moon landing, and I think like your phone is like a million times more advanced than what they landed on the moon with. It's just incredible.
I was just, you know, you said about the moon, you know, the moon landings and everything,
yeah.
How the moon landings, if you believe some people out there that Stanley Kubrick directed the moon landings. Yeah. And
I mean, if there is anyone that could have done it, it was him. But
yeah.
I just, yeah, it's just funny, really.
And with everything that Ridley Scott could do, could he direct the Mars landings?
Yeah, possibly. I think a lot of the time as well, you're expecting like Mark to bump into an alien egg, aren't you?
Yeah. Stay away from the eggs.
Yeah, definitely skull and crossbones for that shit.
Yeah. But I just want to go on record as saying I do not buy into the conspiracy theory that man did not land on the moon.
Oh no, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, I must admit, like I'd be lying if when I was younger, I thought there was some credence to it, but then, you know, there's loads of YouTube channels you watch that have got like proper astronomers, and they walk through the pictures and tell you why it's not fake and that, and you do sort of think that's a bit silly then.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna. I am not. If we go down that rabbit hole, we'll soon be talking flat Earth.
Yeah, it's a whole different kettle of fish.
I just got to say something. If Earth is flat, who put the dome above us? I'm sorry, there's no logic to that.
It's a rabbit hole, isn't it?
Say again?
Like you say, there isn't it? It's the rabbit hole. You end up like the Matrix.
Yeah.
By the end of...
Do you not want to go into the Matrix? No way. When I say I don't want to go into the Matrix. I just do not want to discuss the Matrix.
Okay.
Yet.
Ooh.
Okay, when Keanu Reeves goes into the Matrix as Ted Theodore Logan, then I might be interested.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, Mark Watney in the Matrix.
He'd have Neo running for his life.
I think a real standout moment from The Martian is the one we both think of, isn't it? The Captain Blond's speech.
I love that because they're in international waters. Yeah. Oh, I love it. That sums up the whole film. That does. Because he's a space pirate, and he is a Martian as well. Because he's when he exits the Hab, which is private property. He's going into the unknown, so it means that he's going to be taking over. He's going to be taking over a ship which he doesn't have permission to until he gets onto the ship. So it's just brilliant.
It's just the writing so good, isn't it? Right? It's just because you sort of think everyone finds pirates cool, don't they? So
yeah.
Just the way he's sort of like, I'm technically a space pirate.
he explains it to Mindy Park, and she's explaining it to to Vincent Capour, who gets the joke already.
Yeah.
And it's just it's pure it's brilliance. And, as well, but I remember I sort of pointing out. I mean, The Martian is not really the sort of film you'd imagine you might do to inspire people on things to do like things on Earth. But last year we decided to grow potatoes for the pure and simple reason. My argument with the fiance was that if Mark Watney can grow it on Mars, we could certainly grow it in our garden. So we grew potatoes because of The Martian. That was the inspiration why I wanted to try and grow potatoes.
You didn't use your own shit though, did you?
She wouldn't let me. Try to fertilise it. No.
I always use the potatoes as the selling point for the film. Whenever someone says, "Oh, no, I haven't seen that. Is it good?" I would say, "Yeah, like it's just." I says, "If you want to see a guy growing potatoes with his own shit on Mars, but it's way more than that."
Yeah. I used to. That one when that was just. Do you like Apollo 13? Yeah. Do you like the first one? Yeah. Then watch The Martian. It's good. It's fun. It's fun. I mean, I watched that Sean Penn one. I can't remember what it's called, but it did one season where they're training for Mars mission.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it just called Mars?
I'm not sure.
Is it? I know what you mean.
Yeah. And it was enjoyable. They should have done a second season, but that was all on the back of The Martian, and it makes you want to learn more about the planet and everything. I mean, they actually have this Ares 4 spacesuit, and this goes to sum up how important The Martian is to not just the science fiction, but to the science fact community. That they've got Mark Watney, Matt Damon's suit, in the display cabinet at the Space Center in Leicester, right next to suits that have actually been up in space.
Yeah, so it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, and every time I go, I always make a beeline and get a photograph with his suit. It doesn't matter if it's convention or we're just going. When we could still go when we weren't in lockdown, but to just see a suit from like one of my favorite movies. It's just brilliant having it along because the technology is very similar to the stuff that they will be using when they do actually create the real ones. And I think that's fantastic because you got like all these real spacesuits and a costume prop. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, because I think NASA are quite selective of what fictional things they consider like worthy of being showcased as well, aren't they? I mean, there's a lot of space films that are really inaccurate, but then the ones you do get that aren't, like, I mean, I know a lot of this stuff probably, like, you probably would die if you were left on Mars that long, but it's just it seems plausible, like you could do that if you knew how to do certain things, how you could survive on a desert island. It's the same principle, isn't it?
Exactly. And the thing is that it's got to be some facts there for them to allow them to use the NASA emblem.
Yeah.
So I think
I think when we did it in Armageddon, it was kind of just Michael Bay saying, "Oh, I've got a shitload of money here. Can I use your symbol?"
Yeah, as long as you don't stick it on a transformer, we'll be all right. I fucking hate those things.
Apparently, there's a story that I don't know if it's true or not, but anyone from NASA, let us know. They show Armageddon in a class at NASA as how not to make like mistakes, the most common mistakes about how space travel, basically, and go through it like scene by scene and say, "This is wrong. This is wrong. This is what you don't encounter."
Would it be bad if I say I've never actually watched Armageddon because it never appealed to me, and I like space films?
I like Armageddon. Like 90s Michael Bay, I quite like, but it is disgustingly inaccurate. Like it's just, someone pointed out the main plot hole with it, like that I never even considered, is why train a load of drillers to become astronauts, which takes years, rather than just train a load of astronauts to use a drill.
Probably because a load of astronauts wouldn't look like Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and you'd have a 5-minute film as well. Probably.
Yeah. Here's a drill. Here's the manual. Use it. And I suppose you wouldn't be able to have like, was it Aerosmith's song Don't Want to Miss a Thing?
Yeah, but yeah. And the whole tagline, well, it's not a tagline, but the whole description of the film would basically just be John McClane destroys an asteroid.
You're telling me that's less plausible than going to Chernobyl?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, fuck that.
So Die Hard 6 Armageddon?
Yeah, why not?
Coming to Disney Plus stars.
That's what separates The Martian, though, as well. I mean, like, the characters are all well developed as well. I mean, Armageddon, that's like they're 2D cutouts, really. It's like the same thing with Gravity. Like, I think there's only two characters, and you get to know them really well through just the long shots and the slow editing. It's a different type of film, but it's the same sort of thing. Like, the more you know things about Matt Damon's character, the more you care.
Yeah.
And like, I hate films that sort of just throw problem after problem at you without letting you think, I don't really care about this guy.
But you just hit the nail on the head. That's the reason why this film works. He is a likable character.
Yeah.
And it's not just, I mean, because this is where we do go into science fiction. It's because it is science fiction rather than science fact. We'll say with like Apollo 13, which is this is how they reacted. They have the transcripts to how they reacted. So because Jim Lovell and and the crew were astronauts, they were military.
Yeah.
Some of these aren't military. These, they said that Mark Watney's a botanist.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between the military and the non-military personnel, and as to their training and their upbringing. So that's the reason why you've got someone like Mark Watney. It can be fun, whereas it's sort of like trained people who know the problems are there to do it by the book.
Yeah.
This is done. This is done. This is done, and you can deviate. But their problem solving is all mathematical.
Yeah, and that's a good point as well, because if you had, like, say the commander, Jessica Chastain's character, if she was trapped on Mars, I think because they're more military, they would be handling the situation a lot better, wouldn't they? Which would be more boring for us because there wouldn't be any problems, really. Yeah. Whereas Mark isn't military, like you say, the botanist. Like, a lot of these things, it's all physics. It's not, apart from the potatoes, it's fixing like the rover and the nuclear reactor and stuff like that, and that's where the tension comes from, I think.
Yeah, if you have all the problems that and the books where they're in, whereas he has to go and research and he has to ad-lib.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, well, this is this you do this, and this. Because, well, he has to figure it all out, and that is the brilliance of it.
That's real life problem solving, isn't it? I mean, we've all come into contact with things where you go, right, I'll do this to fix it, and then what you're going to do can't be done, so you have to think, well, what else can I do to fix it? And I think it's more in the novel because he explains all the physics and stuff behind it. So that's the only bad thing about the book is if you're not at least a little bit interested in science, it might. I mean, even stuff I read, I was like, what? I don't know what that means. I had to Google that. So translating it to the screen is a lot easier, I think, because you can have, like we said earlier, the montage scenes where he explains what he's doing while showing you. So I think the films are more sort of show and tell, isn't it? Rather than, I think books are really sort of, they're all tell and no show because it's words.
Do you think that The Martian, compared to Ridley Scott's, previous outlay, is a complete departure for him?
It is very different, yeah. I don't think I've ever seen him do a comedy. Like, it's not comedy, but it's funny. I don't think I've ever really seen him do like a consistently, a film with humour in his first round. He's quite a dark director a lot of the time, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very serious, and he's very. I mean, I've watched him doing his own storyboards. He's very. This is how I want it. This has got to be like this and this. and to see him do something that is that is comedy, but it's also science fiction, science fact. I think of all of his movies, like I said, I'm not disrespecting any of his other movies, but this is the most accessible one. If you were to get someone into a Ridley Scott movie, I think that Martian would be the one. I'd be saying, watch this first.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's really they must have been similar schools of film because I've always described Ridley Scott as like a filmmaker's filmmaker. He's like you say, he's quite serious, and if you like, some of his stories are hilarious on the audio commentaries. Like there's one from Gladiator where he's with Russell Crowe on the commentary, and Russell Crowe asks him like, I can't remember where, you know, like how a lot of historical films they fire arrows that are on fire,
Yeah.
and he said there was like a guy that's like a Roman specialist or something like that, and he said, oh, they wouldn't. I don't think they would actually do that because the flame would go out before it went over. And he apparently just said, they do it manually. And I always like he is that kind of serious but still a quite funny guy.
Yeah.
And Tony Scott's the same. I think there's like, you know, Top Gun is his most accessible film.
Yeah.
And then a lot of his other films are sort of kind of like quite violent.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they sort of have a similar school of film maybe.
I just thought Tony Scott was more mainstream.
He was, yeah. I mean, he's done more sort of like normal films,
Yeah.
I'll probably say, you know, like action and.
I suppose a big shout. I mean, may rest in peace, Tony Scott. But I love the Last Boy Scout. Watching that recently, I didn't realize how good it was.
Yeah, I like Last Boy Scout, and it's just like true romance, and even, you know, something like Unstoppable. What about the train that won't stop? That even he's really good at handling tension. So it must be like I don't know whether they both sort of maybe compare notes or, but they seem really similar in their filmmaking.
Yeah. I mean, but no, but I think stylistically, Ridley, you know, just for Blade Runner and Alien alone, I mean, I know a lot of people are not too not too fond of Prometheus and Covenant, and I wasn't fond of Covenant until I watched it a second time. And that's only because, and that's only because it annoyed me that it was a fantastic film, but I just don't like the beginning and the end. I think if you take the beginning and the ending away, you've got as close to a perfect science fiction film as you can get. But
yeah, definitely, yeah.
But having said that, I mean, I would love to see the third one of his, and I think that Alienism is a film that you should only really see on the big screen, and Blade Runner is to me, you know, it's perfection.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think it's quite ironic that for me there's like a sort of trilogy of great sci-fi films that define their own eras. So I think, you know, ironically, two of them are his. I think it goes Star Wars, I think then it goes Alien, and then it goes Blade Runner. You know, they were the three big films that changed the ball for science fiction. I mean, I suppose you could go like on with the Terminator or something like that, but
2001.
in terms of in terms of like aesthetic and feeling like you're in that film, maybe out Star Wars a little bit there, because I mean, Star Wars is fantasy, really, isn't it?
Star Wars is fantasy.
It's kind of dead in there. Whenever you bring it up as science fiction, I think it's easier to label it as that because it looks like the rest of it. But I think those three films define science fiction, and I think The Martian could probably, you know, I call it near Earth science fiction. You know, where it's sort of believable science fiction.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, this is going to sound really weird because I mean, it is science fiction. This is not science fact as of yet. But to me, when I was like going, when I was putting the Blu-ray into the collection, I was like, you know what, I want to stick it with science fiction, which ultimately it did go with science fiction. But then there's another part of me that said I want to stick this thematically next to Apollo 13 and First Man. I think it's more in league with those, than it was with science fiction. But if I'm taking that standpoint, does that mean that I stick Star Trek, the motion picture, in with the same bracket?
Yes, you know, but I think that's the great thing about science fiction. Like, I mean, it's essentially, I would say, it's always about right now.
Yeah.
Like it's stuff happening now, but you just view it through a different lens. So I think like it's so diverse that you can have the realistic science fiction that you could read and go, wow, that seems like today. Or but you can also have in the same spectrum the stuff where it's like space operas and like there's a TV show called The Expanse, and that's like bringing back the space opera as a popular sort. It's fantastic. I mean, Mars are in that, and they've got like their own military and everything like that, and they count as like a kind of different solar nation, if you like. But yeah, I think that's the good thing about science fiction. Like, it's so diverse, and The Martian fits into that sort of category of, yeah, this is realistic. Whereas, while Star Trek does have that as well, it's still got like light speed and stuff like that. So you think that's not here yet, but it's important that science fiction has stuff that you can look at and say, but I can imagine that happening. Whereas fantasy is just trolls and dragons and shit in it.
And how does a lightsaber know when to stop?
Yeah.
With its blade length. How do you control it?
I'm sure someone knows.
Well, it's because the dilithium crystal, not dilithium crystal, the kyber crystal.
I'm gonna get lynched.
You're getting it mixed up there.
Yeah, the kyber crystal, it emits a certain energy when the power source is put in, and it goes exactly the height depending on the hilt.
That's every single nerdy Star Wars fan summed up, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. The fact I said dilithium crystal is going to have a load of Star Wars fans trying to lynch me when they ever see me. They'll be like, "That's the one that mistook Star Wars and Star Trek. Let's kill him."
And there's a funny. I can't remember where if it was a video or just like a story he was talking about where I think it was Patrick Stewart when he first started on Next Generation. Like, if you don't know the story behind it, obviously, like he was a bit grumpy at first, wasn't he? Like it wasn't acting at first, and I think when he went to some of the conventions, people would ask him, like when nerds ask questions that the actor wouldn't possibly know, and he was saying something like, "Well, how come?" It was something like to do with like the ship, like how come this works in this episode, and what does this button do? And I think Patrick Stewart just said like, "I don't know, and I don't care." Like, do you want me to sign that or?
I pressed a button.
Yeah.
As I was watching, An Adventure in Space and Time, and sorry, I'm having a brain freeze day today. First Doctor.
William Hartnell.
William Hartnell, yeah. He said, well, he worked out what each one of the buttons done. So because kids who watch it, they know that this button does that. So if he presses the wrong button, because what the kids would actually be focusing on is what the Doctor would do. So he actually did it. Whereas other people, it is. I mean, it's just a paycheck. You do these things, but people obsess, especially with when VHS became big, then DVD, and now digital and Blu-ray, where you can literally freeze frame just to see what button they're actually pressing, or you can see if a gun's got a little extra attachment to it. It may just be really tiny, but it's different, just so that they can say it's a different gun, just so that people can go and go, well, it's a different gun in this scene, so he must have either lost his other one, rather than it's just a bit falling off the prop, or they've just added something on because it's a different casting. You have to have a reason.
Or shock horror might just be a continuity error.
I love continuity errors because they're continuity errors, and it's good to look for them rather than having them explained.
Do you know, like when they have these in-universe, like Star Trek's always got it. Like it's the thing with the uniforms that gets me. Like, oh well, they have 2369, so whatever. They have this uniform, and you just think it's because it's a different show. Like, it doesn't matter. Like.
I know we're going off topic, but Star Trek Lower Decks, love that show.
Yeah,
because that's yeah.
It's funny we should mention Star Trek because Star Trek's built on that problem-solving thing that the Martian uses, isn't it?
Yeah. We
have a problem, I don't know, the Enterprise gets captured. They have to work through it. I mean, you have the technobabble, don't you? But it's essentially, we need to get out of this problem. Who's got ideas? Yeah. And that's all. I think a lot of science fiction is actually boiled down to that.
Yeah. And a multicultural crew.
Yeah. Which is the Martian as well.
Yeah. And it's 5-year mission to seek out new life, new civilizations, explore new worlds. Martian. So true. Never saw that,
Yeah.
but it's so true. I
I
mean,
mean, I remember a lot of people sort of complaining about the multicultural thing, saying, "Oh well, Chiwetel Ejiofor is not Indian. How can he be? Because the guy's Indian in the book." And I was
yeah.
thinking, well, but he plays the part so well that it doesn't really matter.
I like Chiwetel Ejiofor, so you
I
stick
like
him in a
that.
film, you got me sold. Ever since my childhood, another film I really like, Kinky Boots. Since Kinky Boots, I was like, yeah, I like Chiwetel Ejiofor. So,
The first time I ever saw him was Serenity,
ah,
and I don't actually like that film, but he was the best part about it.
he's brilliant in everything. 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, he's fucking scary in Children of Men,
Oh yes.
which is not a film you want to watch if you're feeling down.
No. I like Benedict Wong because he's in an episode of the IT Crowd.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And when he
He's
went
in
over,
Sunshine. Oh,
yeah, he's good.
he is good, yeah.
But when he, so yeah, what's wrong with there's multicultural crews? There's nothing wrong with it.
No, I think it's more realistic, really, isn't it? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
to solve all this stuff, you would have to get over something like prejudices, wouldn't you?
yeah, and
I know that sounds really hippie, but like that's what we need to do to get there, isn't it?
and I'm sorry, but if anyone's got a problem with that sort of thing, I'm sorry. Donald Glover was Rich Pennell. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
no, he is. I mean, I was sold on him the moment I saw the first clips of him as Lando Calrissian in Solo.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I was like,
when we saw the film as well, it was even more like
yeah,
that's Lando.
yeah, yep. I mean, so it's like that's been a thing because I see he's brilliant. He really is, and yeah. I think.
What do you think about the soundtrack in The Martian?
Oh, we're about the score or the soundtrack itself.
The soundtrack, like the Commander's 70s collection of disco.
I'm not a fan of that kind of music, but this is a big but it's what she has, and it's the only music he's got, so
Yeah.
he has to listen to it. So it's a nice little running joke throughout the.
Yeah, I mean,
the film.
it's totally my thing. Like, I love the scene at the end when he's fixing the rocket, and it's just got Waterloo on by ABBA in the background. It's so it does and doesn't go with what's going on. It's just I think it's just so funny.
It works. It does. I mean, like I said, I'm not into. I'm not into disco.
No.
I'm more. If I was that period, it'd be rock. But I did it. It's brilliant because every time you know that song that's on the was it People All Over the World?
Yeah.
Every time I hear that, I actually just think of that film. So
yeah, same with Starman by David Bowie. I always think
yeah.
of The Martian now, constantly.
But that is brilliant. That was during the montage. That was brilliant, and yeah, and that's how that shows the impact that the film does have. And Guardians of the Galaxy does it better than anything when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's almost like Guardians is almost like Baby Driver, or almost a musical.
Yes.
Isn't it? With how well timed the songs are. I mean, I never thought they nailed it as much as the first one. I mean, they're still great, the songs on the second one, but I always thought the first one, that's how you nail a soundtrack into a film.
This kind of funny thing is that you don't usually use the same song twice.
No.
But when they use The Chain by Fleetwood Mac for two separate reasons,
boom,
that's it. I mean,
but it's like used for a character arc, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like at the beginning when they've done this, and then at the end when that arc's completed, you bring that back. It's like the Immigrant Song as well, isn't it? Using that twice in Thor, like it closes back that arc.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Immigrant Song, when that kicked in, I thought that was just trailer music. But when that kicked in the film, and as soon as the opening bars, I was like, can't believe they used it, and I was literally high as a kite because I was like, yes, I love that song. Then when when it kicked in again at the end, I was like, it's music used brilliantly. But yeah, and the soundtrack does actually. I mean, to me, the soundtrack overrides the score in The Martian. 'Cause I remember the
Yeah,
soundtrack more, and it's one of these ones that I will eventually go through and get all the songs because it brings you back to how great the movie is. Where you want that feeling by just listening to the music. I mean, this is 70s. Is it 70s? It is all 70s. That disco period. And yeah, like I said, rock in the 70s. But Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin.
See, I'm not a great fan of Led Zeppelin, but I do like the Immigrant Song. That's the only song I could like.
But
and I'll probably get listened for that.
Yeah. But I think it worked with disco, Lewis. It is Lewis's collection. Yeah.
Because it's like that personality almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I think isn't there a scene where he goes and looks at all of their stations, and he says about when he does his recordings, he says something about like I can't remember who it is, but it's someone's got a really boring collection of rocks or something, haven't they? I think.
I have to watch.
And it reminded me of Egon with his fungus collection.
But you would go through all the people's. You're stuck on there. You got to look through, see what they've got. You go through all the computer files looking for stuff. Yeah. So that's why you should always delete your browser history if you're ever going to leave a habitat on Mars.
That could be disastrous. The whole world seeing your browser history.
Yeah. So what were you doing when you were all? Watch. There's a line in the extended in the Blu-ray deleted featurettes about I'll leave it at that. Find the little videos. It's brilliant. But yeah.
On the subject of the score, was it Hans Zimmer?
The score, no, it was.
Was it Harry Gregson Williams?
The score was. Let me just. All cast and crew. Yeah, well, I remember the good old days when if we were doing this music by Harry Gregson Williams. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah, no, he's quite good. I was going to go on a rant about Hans Zimmer there if it was him. But
Say that again. Sorry.
I was going to go on a rant about Hans Zimmer if it was him, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So.
He did Equalizer 2, The Martian.
Well, I always remember him as being the composer from Metal Gear Solid.
X-Men Origins Wolverine. He did Origins Wolverine.
He did The Rock as well, I think.
Spy Kids. Let's have a look. I'm still good now. What year was The Rock?
96, I think.
96. Ghost Paradise. Ants. Music department was the soundtrack.
Oh, they just. I know he's like. I think he's a protege of Hans Zimmer.
Let me have a look. The Rock, composer, additional music. You're right, dude. Damn.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of credits. You know who the DOP was?
On The Martian?
Yeah.
It's not Roger Deakins, is it?
Nope. It's cinematography by Darius Wolski.
Oh, yeah.
He did Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did Pirates. He's down for Gladiator 2. Prometheus.
For a second there, I thought you meant there was a second Gladiator coming out.
There is. Gladiator 2 announced.
He's fucking dead in it. How is that possible?
But this is IMDb. It doesn't all have to be official. He did Pirates of the Caribbean at World End and on Stranger Tides. Dead Man's Chest. Pirates of the Caribbean. Crimson Tide.
Well, that's a Ridley Scott brother film.
Yeah. So he's actually he's got a good catalogue. He has.
It is well shot, though, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant. It is brilliant.
Like I said, I like the mix between the traditional film sort of photography and the found footage stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's just it sort of works like an instruction manual, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In the found footage bits.
Oh yes. It's just, and it all blends so seamlessly together.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
I mean, it's hard to find anything wrong with it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we're both watching the extended cut, and it's perfect pacing. There's no lulls. There's no you know when you can tell when you're watching a movie when there's the piss break time where you're running out if you're sitting in the cinema. You can get a gist of when the moment you can go. Oh, this is a bit slow. I've got a 2-minute window to run in, run out, and But with this one, it's sort of like you enjoy it too much. You just want to I can hold it for another few minutes.
Yeah. I think like the at-home version of that is looking at your phone, isn't it?
Yeah.
When there's a film not grabbing you.
Yeah, or when you're looking over and someone is supposed to be watching a film, and you say, "Why you put your phone down?" But I'm not really gonna like, yes, put your phone down. But I've seen it before. Put your phone down.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on that.
No. There should be a rule: is that you switch your phone off when you're watching a film.
Yeah.
But and my little rant is it's different when it's something they want you to watch, though, isn't it?
It is very different, yeah.
Are you watching this or not? You gonna put your phone down? And you know how I feel. I'm so glad she doesn't listen to this podcast because she listens to us recording it.
Yeah, they batter us, wouldn't they?
Yeah, we'd be dead. But yeah, so I think we can safely say that we both agree that this is actually an underrated classic.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how it didn't make more money. I don't know if it was a case of it being a word of mouth movie, maybe, because I don't remember seeing a lot of promotion for it. I remember seeing the poster on IMDb and thinking, oh, well, that looks like kind of Gravity-ish, but I didn't know anything about it, so it was a nice surprise seeing it and finding because I remember my friend saw it before me and he said, "Oh, it's hilarious," and I thought, "Hilarious? What? Like, how's it? Oh, I don't know if this is going to be any good now." And then when I watched it, I sort of got it, and yeah, it's just I think it was nice watching it blind actually.
Yeah. For me, it just. Like I said, it was one of these films that I just thought looked good, and just sitting there watching, I was like, yeah. For me, I think the reason it's so under the radar is because it's not got the sequel to the big Hollywood explosion blockbuster.
Yeah,
the
superheroes in it.
Yeah. Well, we've got superhero actors, but we don't actually have someone in tights.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing nowadays. I mean, when cinemas eventually reopen, it's all about, the big, the $200 million epic that is.
Yeah.
You've seen Alien. You've seen Aliens, the new Alien movie. It's not got that kind of
pomposity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, First Man got that. I'm going to see how much bank First Man made on the budget. I mean, First Man is a fantastic film, but that is very serious.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's very That's quite a lot of that's quite dark, isn't it?
It's very dark. I mean, it is another one of these films that I'm so glad I saw at the cinema. But
yeah, so
it's so dark. It is.
Yeah, a lot of the lead up to the moon landing in it is like the failures, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, according to IMDb, made on a $59 million budget, and it only did a worldwide gross of 105. Martian.
Wow, doubled.
Yeah, Martian annihilated it in terms of profit. But
I mean, but budget-wise, The Martian was still. I mean, it's not. That's not. That was 159 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you said
it was 100. It was I think it was 108. 108, and it took in 630 worldwide.
Yeah, I mean 108. That's quite sounds mad, but that's quite cheap for a
It's very
big
cheap
director's film, isn't it?
I mean, the nearest equivalent I suppose you could argue would be Covenant. Let's have a quick look. Again, I remember when you'd have to go up to Halliwell's Covenant 2017. Again, I do like Covenant.
Yeah, I think it's totally.
It was.
I mean, I can see the issues that everyone's on about, but it wasn't like unwatchable or anything like that, you know.
97 million budget, and it raked in 240.
No.
So it's Prometheus. This is 2012. So we're talking similar times frames. Prometheus was done on a budget of 130, and it raked 403. It's all. I suppose it's all down to perception, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose it's because Martian, you could argue, is just not as science fiction stylized as Alien or Covenant. It's more grounded. Yeah. So that could be the only reason that people will remember Prometheus and Covenant, even though they generate less money than Martian. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So yeah. To me, I mean, like I said, The Martian ranks as my favourite out of all Ridley Scott's modern outlay. Definitely.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's the best film he's made in a long time.
Definitely. Any final words?
Just, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It is truly brilliant.
I could not agree more. I'm Stevie W.
I'm Callum.